everyone, it's Desiree, and as I promised in my previous video when I reviewed the Arteza watercolor pencils, I told you that I would do a card. So here that is, just so you can see how they work, how I use them when it comes to watercolor pencils, and I do the same techniques with any brand that I have. So this is what they look like. They don't roll, which is really nice because I'm always dropping something. And you can see, now when you get them, they won't have a sharp point. I do like to have a little bit of a point on my pencils. And these are the sharpeners that I use. These are the handheld. So the Prismacolor, I think when it comes to handheld, are best. And you get two different points, you know, the long skinny point or the shorter one. I do like the shorter one when it comes to my watercolor pencils. I also use the Staedtler one as well, same thing, two different points. I do have this eye point orbit that is run by batteries, and I like this one as well. I am cheap, I don't like to lose too much of my pigment, but that one stays at my house when I'm sitting at my desk, and it works great also. So you can see when it comes to these, it's a very gentle touch that I'm using. I'm going to show all the coloring on this, so it's a quick video. And then you can see I'm coming in with my aqua brush. You can use a regular brush with water. You'll get the same effect. For shading, I put it around the edge and I draw it out. For this area here, I'm actually covering the entire area. And then again, I'm coming in with my aqua brush to activate the pigment that comes from the pencil. We're now going to real quick do the leaves, and for those, I'm just putting it down towards the point, not going to the edge. And then again, that helps me get my shading. And again, it's a light touch. You don't want to put a lot of pressure. You will see those lines. So if you just scratch the pigment down onto the paper, you're able to move it. The paper that I am working on is Canson XL watercolor paper. I do like to use the watercolor paper when it comes to watercolor pencils. You're going to hear me say water a lot. Yeah. Okay. So you can see now I'm going to go in with the yellow. Now, another technique that you can use, and I'll be showing that in a later video, also with your watercolor pencils, you can use a blender pen as well. You don't have to use a brush with water or an aqua brush or water brush, whatever you may call them, but you can actually use a blender to pull that pigment out. So again, that's actually going to be part of another video that I'm doing, the technique. So now I'm actually blending. I zoomed in for you so that you can actually see what I'm doing here on this card. And you can see now I'm just going to go into the larger area of this flower. And again, just a light amount of pigment that's going down. And you can see I'm not going out to the edge. I want to create a shade when it comes to this color. Now this is a very light color, so you're not really seeing a lot of the pigment. I did not put a lot of the pigment down. I put a light coating, and that's okay, because what I want to do next is the brush to the pencil, just to the tip, to pick up that pigment. And notice I'm staying on the pigment point. I'm not going on to the wood, just touching the tip of the pencil, and you can see I'm able to draw up that color and just drop it in like you would a watercolor. That's the beauty of these. So you can draw with them, activate it with water. You can paint with them, just keeping them in your hands and coming off of the tips and adding your colors that way. It's a softer effect. Some colors, of course, will be darker than others, like this is a very vibrant blue. And that's okay. It's a different shade that I'm looking for. And you can see each of the colors are different because I didn't go back in. I just let it continue to come off the brush. Now, this was also embossed. So I used my VersaFine black ink and then a clear embossing powder. And that way the colors won't run together. I'm impatient. Now, you don't need to emboss every time. You can just use your VersaFine or Archival by Ranger in black. Make sure it's dry. You just have to make sure that you don't work in an area next to each other because those colors will bleed. The water will move across the paper. By embossing, it's like a barrier. It holds it into that area that you want the color to stay. So again, patience, have none, will emboss. 9 out of 10. So now I'm going in with some of my other colors and just dragging those out. I'm going to put a little bit of that blue down on the bottom, and then I'm going to drag that up just so that there's a difference in the value and the color. I'm thinking on my next color that needs to come in. So I chose the orange. So it's just some fun, bright colors. The stamp set that I used is from My Favorite Things. Again, everything that I did use will be linked down below. Also a link to the watercolor pencils. And I'll also link to the review video that I just did recently as well, so that if you wanted to see what I did in that video, you can. So here I'm actually creating a palette. This is another piece of Canson XL watercolor paper, and I'm using it as a palette. I scribbled some of the color down. I'm adding water to it. I'm mixing it up, and now I'm going to use that around the sentiment just to help make that stand out just a little bit more. Soft color, I don't want it too vibrant. I don't want it solid. I just want it to melt away in the background. So that's our coloring that we did. I used one of my Lawn Fawn Stitch rectangle dies to cut out this panel. Now the flowers aren't going down to the bottom. I did eventually use my Faber-Castell Pitt pen in small to extend those lines to come down to the bottom. I forgot to show you that. I'm going to use some double-sided foam tape, and I'm going to adhere this on my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, usually a top folding, now a side folding panel, and it's a light gray that I chose for this backdrop. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it showed you just a little bit more on how these watercolor pencils work to help you make a decision. Again, there's all types, the Spectrum Noir, the Derwents, and also these as well. And there's also others. They're all good. They just can work differently. Here are some close-ups so that you can see the card and how it dried and the effect that it gave. So again, I just want to give you as much information so that you can make a decision on what products you would like to use. You will see a video. It's going to be one of the technique videos specifically on watercolor pencils, and that will be coming out soon. I should say in the near future. All right, so you'll be able to see all kinds of different techniques, even more than what I've already shown. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. I'd love you to be part of my little world of the YouTube community. We do have a good time. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Links will be also in the description for everything that was shown in this video. I hope everyone's having a great day, but most important, always remember, be creative.